This war is real. Fighting is everything. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Tempt not the righteous man to draw his sword. Conviction, righteousness, ruthlessness. To understand tolerance, you have to understand the line of intolerance. War is the teacher, soldiers are the students. They become the bards of war. November 3rd is a significant date. Not only is it the date of the election, but we know that on November 3rd, things are going to change. The left is not going to give up. They're not going to step aside willingly. And from everything that they're talking about, they're going to do everything in their power to turn what should be a peaceful election of a president of the United States into an inferno and revolution. And yet the most important thing that we face ahead has nothing to do with the election at all. It has to do with our solid stance in faith, in God, and our unwavering commitment to liberty. Welcome to the Bards FM podcast. My name is Scott Kesterson. I am the director and producer of the war documentary, Bards of War, Fighting is Everything, and you are listening to episode 113, Red Lines and Plumb Lines. Enter the epic world of Teleria, where dark elves meet the Sacred Order and the Banner Lords are in an endless war with the undead hordes. Collect, equip, train, and upgrade your team of heroes in order to start a journey of a lifetime. Raid Shadow Legends will take you to the world of dark fantasy and realism. Raid is free to play and is available for both mobile and PC. By the time you're watching this video, the brand new Tag Team Arena should be live in-game. Tag Arena is the next level of competition, player versus player battles. Instead of a single 4 versus 4 battle like the classic arena, it's actually a series of 3 4 versus 4 battles. It's best of 3. Whoever wins 2 battles wins the series. It's basically arena on hard mode. And since it's brand new, the developers are giving out some special rewards soon to whoever manages to finish high up in the rankings. So if you love truly competitive player versus player with some big rewards, you're going to love Tag Arena. Go to the video description below, click on the special links, and if you are a new player, you will get 100,000 silver plus 50 gems plus 1 energy refill and 1 free champion, Adjudicator. These special rewards are only available for 30 days. So what are you waiting for? Follow the links below, sign up today, and start your clan and begin your battle. We use the term the Matrix rather loosely as a reference to those that are not awake and still believing the mainstream narrative. But if we really dig into the movie The Matrix, that vision that's presented in that film is dark and a rabbit hole that most are not capable of going down. But there's a scene early on in The Matrix where Morpheus is walking Neo through a simulation of the Matrix and explaining to him the rules of engagement as they move forward. So I want to read it here as we begin today. So Morpheus says, "The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. When you're inside, you look around and what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged, and many of them are so immersed, so helplessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. If you are not one of us, you are one of them. That means that anyone we haven't unplugged is potentially an agent. Inside the Matrix, they are everyone, and they are no one. But they are the gatekeepers. They are guarding all the doors. They are holding all the keys, which means sooner or later, someone is going to have to fight them." Patriots, the fight that we face right now is far greater than a single election in November 3rd. I say this not to diminish the importance of November 3rd, but those that understand the issue, those that understand the criticality of November 3rd, already know who you're voting for. And that makes life fairly simple. I'm voting for Donald J. Trump, period. He is the singular option for us to move forward. And it's important to realize that President Donald J. Trump is a man, not a god, and he's doing everything he can to position this country to decouple from the global banking cabal. But our responsibility every single day, from now and well beyond November 3rd, has to be the focus of securing our local municipalities. our counties, our cities, our school boards. That's the patriots' fight. That's the daily grind that we face. But on a much bigger level right now, when we look across our world, we can see that the world is dividing. And this is where this war becomes so multidimensional. Taking care of your local school board, your county, your sheriff are essentials, the same as breathing air or eating breakfast. You have to do it to make sure that the way of life that we're fighting for is preserved. And that's a county-by-county fight that we have to engage in and we have to win. The illusion that's been shattered over the past 6 months has been that illusion of a United States red county map, if you've seen that was generated after the 2016 election. It bolsters a fake confidence that our country is primarily red, when in fact what we've learned is, while the people voted red for the president, many of those in the administrative positions in each of those counties aren't red at all. They're globalists. They've sold their soul to another vision, a vision of dismantling the United States, and most importantly, of destroying faith. Our country was built on the foundations of God, on the Judeo-Christian principles and ethics. And now it's time for us to secure those yet again in what effectively is our second revolution. But this is much greater than just the revolution. This is a global fight for humanity. And at the center point of all of that are we, the people of the United States of America. Our faith in God is the principal force here that will win or lose this battle. And how strong we stand with God is going to dictate much of this outcome. I am not one who believes that with the New Testament, the Old Testament went away. And I've mentioned this before, but I keep encountering this. God has infinite love, but God's wrath is very real. And it is now time for us to atone for the darkness that this country has settled into by being strong in our faith and being strong enough in our faith to be public and forward with it. But as we look around this country, we can see a division that's happening. We can see that the world is dividing. We are visibly seeing the darkness, the evil that was resting just underneath. These veneers are being stripped away. And as we strip them away, we're looking deep into the chasms and we're seeing where those strongholds are. Seattle, Portland, Chicago, New York. Places where violence, killing, burning, destruction are all part of a system of power to keep people in fear and to suppress the will of the people and give the power to an elite that will control and enslave the body. That's not God's way. That's the Luciferian way. And that's what we stand against and what we fight. But as I say, it's the gift that God's giving us for us to see clearly what is before us. And there's precedence for this in the Bible. Consider Amos 7:7-8. Thus he showed me, and behold, the Lord was standing by a vertical wall, with a plumb line in his hand. The Lord said to me, What do you see, Amos? And I said, A plumb line. Then the Lord said, Behold, I am about to put the plumb line in the midst of my people of Israel, and I will spare them no longer. Then we find Isaiah 28:17. I will make justice the measuring line and the righteousness the level. Then hail will sweep away the refuge of lies, and the waters will overflow the secret place. We are witnessing the division of faith before us. We are witnessing a moment in time when the idols that we worship are being pulled away, that the true nature of our beliefs are being brought forward. And like the plumb line, God is putting to each side those of faith and those of fear. Even worse, those that use the tools of fear to suppress others. This is truly the fight of light and dark, and it's happening right before us. And it's something that we have to keep before us in everything we do. Like I said, the election November 3rd, very important, but you know who you're going to vote for, or you should. And between now and then, it's nothing more than bread and circuses. It's a political dance and show to keep people entertained. Our fight is deeper. Our fight is bigger. Our fight is longer. Because the fight of liberty isn't resolved on November 3rd. In fact, I might even argue that on November 3rd is when the true fight of liberty begins. So between now and then, in fortifying for the bigger fight, we have to commit more deeply in our faith, more deeply to God. We have to double down in our practice of understanding the teachings of the Bible, understanding our Constitution, understanding our Declaration of Independence. Those are the tools of knowledge that guide us. And faith is that foundation that holds us because we stand on that rock of Jesus Christ, our Savior, knowing that God is with us in all of this fight, because this is ultimately God's fight. But nonetheless, we are the army on the ground. And so to push forward in this fight, we have to commit to red lines. Those are places we will not cross, will not pass. And we put that in balance of God's plumb line. We're witnessing this separation, exposing of the beliefs, and sifting those of true faith and those that choose fear. These are not normal times, and they're not times to take lightly. These are times to reflect deeply on what's your relationship in your family. It's your time to commit deeply to how you're living that walk yourself, not just to take things for granted. It's a time to commit deeply to vices that may control us. Maybe it's smoking, maybe it's heavy drinking, maybe it's an addiction to porn. Those things have to be stripped away from you now. These are not normal times. These are times to come into the faith, and you have to commit truly to walking in that light. This is the tough fight, because it's not just the external fight, which is there, but we ourselves have to fight to get ourselves into that place of true and solid faith. We can't accept excuses from ourselves. We have to look truly in the mirror and see what we see. As I said previously, if you're dealing with anxiety, you have to find the power in your gifts. This is the time that God's calling you to those. This fight that we're in is so big, no one person can ever take it on. And as difficult as it is to witness all of this around us, we really have to hold to the perspective of what a powerful and amazing gift that's being given to us. We're literally standing in the middle of the storm, and as long as you hold tight to faith, your feet will not move. You will not be swayed by the winds. The water will not knock you off your feet. You'll stand because standing with you is God, and He will not forsake you. But the world is dividing, and at the center point of that division on all things is our faith. Again, as it said in Isaiah, and the waters will overflow the secret place. The secret place is the stronghold of our faith. It's where we stand, secure, knowing that we're okay no matter what happens. We're okay because not only are we strong in our faith, but we know those lines, no matter what, that we will not cross. We're clear on that. We're not giving up our liberty and our free will. We're not giving up our faith. We're not giving up our conviction to what this country was built on. And no matter what happens, we're listening to God. We're following His lead, and we have the strength to endure that like no one else. We as Christians must sacrifice, because that's part of what we do. Sacrifice is the act of truly committing to everything for someone else and a future generation. It's for the salvation of man. That's the sort of commitment and conviction each one of us has to have. One of my red lines, as everybody knows that reads my stuff or hears these podcasts, is the mask, because it represents so much more than just buying food. It's giving in to an order that is trying to enslave you. And there are so many ways to work around that if you're creative and if you work hard at it. Why I brought up early about wrath is real. I'll be honest, I don't want to be on that side. If you don't have a respect for God's wrath, then you have no fear of the Lord. Then you've lost perspective of God's power and force in this world. The biblical stories provide so many layers of information for us. There's embedded science that we're discovering. There's metaphor to live by. There's histories to remind ourselves of what happened in the past. There's morals, there's ethics, there's values. And all of that pivots on our belief in God and our commitment to faith and facing these evils without any fear. We will never be forsaken by God. But to get to that place is not just an easy ticket. Yes, Christ was sacrificed for our sins. That does not relinquish our responsibility of accountability and conviction to living in our faith. And the stronger we live there, the more solid we are, the farther in that we fall into God's arms. The more that we trust in that path and let go of this artificial structure that's around us, the matrix that defines us, the more we discover the true power of who we are. The matrix is not just a way of thinking, it's a control grid. It literally shapes every bit of reality that we engage. And with it are all of the limitations that are defined to us of what we can and can't do. These aren't laws of God, these are laws of men. These are rules of men, all sold to you on the principle that you can't get along. that you're incapable of ruling yourselves. You're incapable of coexisting because we, as the overlords, whoever the overlords are, must guide you, tell you, control you in all that you do. That's the true sense of the Matrix. And what we're witnessing right now is an unprecedented level of control in the Matrix. Arguably, we've never seen anything like this. And those that are pushing back on the mask issue and looking at those that are wearing masks and complying to the masks, you're seeing that world separate more and more. You're seeing the power of what a simple thing like wearing a mask does. Suppressing personalities, dropping eye contact, changing posture to defeat rather than strength. And then there's the physiological aspects of reduced oxygen, rebreathing your own air that may have contaminants in it. And it's a grinding down of the spirit and the soul of the individual. There is nowhere in that equation that I can ever find an okay place to be with a mask. If there's a local store that won't allow me in because they're afraid of getting penalized by, say, OSHA or some other agency of the state, work with them. Ask them, can you bring my food out to the front? I'll pay for it in advance. But in the end of the day, there can be no compromise on this issue. This is the plumb line, and it is the red line. It's a line that you cannot cross, and at the same time, it's that line that God has dropped down to separate the people, to place them in a position where they are those of faith and those that are walking away. When you wear a mask, the symbolism is so profound. It's literally that place of accepting fear, accepting obedience, and yet God gave you free will. Gave you sovereignty, and to use it with such grace and such unbelievable power that in using it, you would choose to come back to Him and claim the true inheritance of your birth. We are the children of God. That's not said lightly. I think we brush that aside too often, almost like it's, oh, that's a nice biblical story. That's not something you say lightly. We're truly the children of God. And with that comes things that we haven't even imagined. Ask yourself why the Luciferian elite is so obsessed with blood, our blood. Why are they so obsessed with the unborn and the newborn and the children? All of those things are hints to something much bigger, that we are so much greater than anything we've ever imagined, that they find it necessary to enslave, abuse, and even kill to protect their own order. This world is very divided. I'm not one that puts my faith in humanity. I want to be clear about that. I put my faith in God. And I believe that through that, as we put our faith in God, we find the strength and unity that we need to be victorious in this battle. But there are two humanities right now. As was said in the Archbishop's letter, the offspring of the woman and the offspring of the serpent. If we take that reference back to the Luciferian creation story, what that actually says is the offspring of light, which is the offspring of the woman, and the offspring of darkness, which was the offspring of Lucifer, Abel and Cain. The challenges we have going forward is to step aside from the noise of politics. It's addictive, it's interesting, people are concerned about it, but like I said, you already know who you're going to vote for. Wherever the cards fall, they fall, and we have to have trust and faith at the same time. But the only fight at the end of the day that truly matters is that fight for our faith and what that represents. The vaccine is another one of those. We know they're going to try it. We know they're going to try to deny services, deny access to things so that you break your will and you willfully give in. But see, that's a choice. That isn't being forced, and they know this. That's why they're backing off of the forced compliance, because part of the rules of the universe are simple. People need to choose by free will. The Luciferians know this very well. And it doesn't say that your choice is fair or your choice is going to be easy. They also know that because they control the grid of the matrix. So they're going to squeeze. They're going to do everything they can to squeeze and to force you into a place where you willfully walk into their vaccine. This vaccine isn't needed, but they're obsessed of inoculating every single person in the world. That should frighten everybody just in that statement alone. And they're pushing hard for it. And they've mapped out where they want to go. They're very honest about it now. They're in the open. Again, the veneers of lies have been stripped away, and we're seeing truth underneath all of this. With that, as we're given truth, the accountability and responsibility of decisions that we make, the consequences of those are real. Every day, someone puts on a mask, they're making a choice. It's part of that choice you're making to step away from faith. And that's every day you approach God's plumb line and you're making a choice, whether you go to the side of darkness or go to the side of light. This is a time that has to be like this. Our world has become too massively corrupt, and people now need to find the strength and will that is given to them, that's within us, that fire in our soul, that fire in the belly, to stand up and say, no, I will not under any circumstances, and know that red line. We have free will, and you're dealing with life and death. Life is rooted in the freedom of humanity, global liberty, and it begins with us here in this country taking a stand that's so decisive, so strong, that we literally can watch the earth shake and the corporate walls of control collapse. Because at the end of the day, we don't need that much. We don't need the many things that we think we do. And I am going to stand, no matter what, on that side of that line, of that plumb line, that puts faith and the strength in free will and sovereignty before anything else. That's the strength we need to have. If you take 80 million people in this country that suddenly just said, okay, enough, I am not going to shop for a week, for example, or 2 weeks, let the corporate infrastructure feel the shaking of the earth of that one. You see, we have the power, we just haven't realized it. And this is part of what we're being shown. We're being shown how few people actually control our lives, and yet how willfully so many are accepting that control. I didn't vote for somebody in power to dictate to me. We don't live under a dictatorship. When your leaders start running roughshod over rules and you're willfully accepting those, you are part of that problem. You're not part of the solution. And it is guilt by association. We must find our strength always in those secret places where the waters overflow. Those are the places where we can go and center ourselves in faith and know that even though it's tough, even though we're uncertain, even though we may feel fear, we release ourselves to the trust in God and we let Him fight those battles for us. Let me close with Psalm 91, 1-2. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him I will trust. That's the place of protection. That's the place where we find our strength in faith and our security within the Lord. It's the place beyond the veil. It's the place that we have to go to and hold to in some of the worst times that we face ahead. That doesn't mean inaction. That means bringing that strength of faith into the public square. But it means not wavering. It means understanding your red lines that you will not cross. And you're not just doing that for the sake of politics. You're doing that because it is what we do in the conviction of faith and the love in God. This is not just another election. This is literally a fight for humanity and the soul of humanity. So patriots, be strong. If you have to carry a Bible with you when you go shop, carry it. Hold it up. Declare and proclaim your faith. Tell them you refuse to comply with these rules. But be strong. Do not bend to these tyrants. And in doing so, the love of God will shine down in a way you cannot even imagine. No, it won't be easy. And sometimes it's going to feel like you got knocked right down on your knees. But the one thing you must always remember is even in those worst of moments, God is there with you, protecting you and guiding you. And everything that you endure is ultimately for Him. Stay in prayer. Stay strong in faith. God bless. So thanks for tuning in. Remember, if you like the channel, please hit subscribe, like the episode, and share it on your favorite social media forum. The Bards FM podcast can be found on Podbean at www.bards.fm. You can also find the Bards FM podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, and BitChute by entering Bards FM in the search bar on the respective apps or websites. Also remember to check out Bards of War Fighting is Everything documentary at bardsofwarfilm.com. That's bardsofwarfilm.com. Buying a copy helps support these podcasts and future film projects. And if you would like to support the channel with a donation link is below. All podcasts are written and produced by Scott Kesterson. Opinions expressed are the individual's only. Interpretations of events are the sole rights and opinions of the podcast presenter and guests. Bards FM, Bards of War, Fighting is Everything, and Expedition Cafe are trademarks of Scott Kesterson and Expedition Cafe. All work is owned and copyrighted by Scott Kesterson and Expedition Cafe. Thank you again. You have been listening to the Bards FM podcast. This is Scott Kesterson, out for now.